Yeah, you've got 5 days.
Keep going through the, maybe we'll go through the other pictures.
Okay. There we go. I think I've
yeah.
got the recording.
So this is someone wanted a decorative thing at their pool. So behind this is a pool. You don't see the pool in the picture, but again, the work that's come in, what's worked well for me is somebody needs something unique and custom and you can't find it at the store. So that's where I find I stay busy is when someone needs a specific thing. They may not have, like, for instance, they don't know exactly what they want it to look like, but they have a need and they want to.
So you go out and take a look at what they've got.
Go out and then you might do a couple of drawings and then they get input and they might like, I don't like that, but I like this aspect about it, and it goes from there. Yeah.
Good.
And railings. So for me, like after meeting Tony Walsh, like I just not having any exposure to blacksmithing at all, I didn't know where to begin or didn't even know if that was even possible nowadays. When I went to high school in the 90s, they certainly pushed post-secondary, right? There wasn't really anybody encouraging you for trades or anything like that. So you didn't even know if it was even possible. So as I know 5 or 6 blacksmiths within 40 minutes of here now, but at the time, we didn't. So it is amazing. And what I've learned from them is everybody seems to navigate to a particular area of it, like Tony Walsh with the cannons. He can certainly do anything that I do, but he goes into cannons. And other folks, like, they might just do blades and like super talented people, but they just do, say, bladesmithing. And so for me, I found what keeps you quite busy is if you're willing to do railings. So there'll probably be a few railings in the slideshow here. This here is an example of, you don't know what the next job's going to be. Like, every job is unique. So this here's a lamp that a customer had. It was extremely sentimental to them. So a lot of stress here not to break it, because honestly, on a million, it was just such a sentimental thing to them that it would be really bad if I broke that. So you see that there's tape around the rim of the shade. So that's a simple job, but it was a need that someone had, and so that's just something. And the other big advantage is being at the Pancake House.
So many
there's
people
over 40,000 people a year come through the Pancake House.
40,000.
Yeah, and so that's a massive,
number of people.
yeah, advantage to have so many people come through, and they see you working on something else, and they're like, well, I don't need that, but I need this. And so that's been a very, very, very beneficial. So here's a picture again. That's a Gerber daisy.
Very pretty.
That went to that's at a gravesite, actually, because the person, that was their favorite flower. So done several jobs for cemeteries. Oop, did I?
You want something that's permanent. Yeah.
I see.
Oh, I don't know why.
Do we click on the picture again?
Yeah, maybe that's an idea. 1,
there we go.
2. There.
This is a picture of the forge. So yeah, we use bituminous coal. So Blacksmith coal comes from West Virginia, and the coal, I get the coal, and it's they call it green coal. And you start the forge just like you would any campfire. You just get paper, kindling, and you have your fire pot, and you get the fire going. And as your little fire grows, you add coal to it, or better yet, from the day before, your coke that you already made. So you burn the impurities out of your green coal, which produces coke, which is pretty much pure carbon, and that gives you your heat. So a nice clean fire.
And you use bellows?
I don't have bellows. I have blowers, and I have a blower. I have an electric blower and a hand crank blower, and they're both plumbed in. And so I can, within 2 seconds, change from one to the other. So if you're doing very small steel and you don't want to burn it, because, steel, it burns quite easily, too many irons in the fire.
Oh, yeah. Like there's extra.
Yeah,
parts
there's a
in
lot of
it.
there. Yeah, they're beside. That's too many irons beside the fire. But so too many irons in the fire, and you get burnt steel. So what happens is your piece is in there, and things seem wonderful, and all of a sudden it's like, why are all these additional sparks,
Ooh,
coming out of the fire? Well, that would be your steel burning.
so what actually happens? So
It melts
Oh,
to very small pieces.
that's useless.
Useless.
Oh dear.
Yeah, unless you're a real artist, and then you probably make something quite creative out of it. But so you don't want too many irons in the fire, and you want a healthy, nice, clean fire. Another thing with the fire is clinker. Probably folks here would know about clinker. Did we have a picture of
We
clinker
have
later
a
on?
picture
Let's talk about
later
that later. Let's do it later. We'll get back.
Get back to it.
This here's an example of a happy customer. So that's why that's here. See, this fella here, Joel Smith. That's why we have internet to do this here tonight. That's Joel. He's a son-in-law to this place. He married Vernon's youngest daughter. So this here, again, there's not that's why I included this too, is just to say I kind of have a foot on two sides of the fence here. There's your fabrication world and there's your blacksmithing world and hand forged items. So I find that kind of being in the middle there, that also helps you stay busy and keeps you in the shop. Is kind of, it's not that there's some shops that say like, I don't use any tools that were made after 1900, right? Or I only use tools to make this piece from traditional tools. So that hasn't been my approach. My approach is let's do the most efficient way. And so if it's quicker and more efficient to forge weld something, you'd forge weld it, and that would be taking two pieces of steel, heating them up in the fire and hammering them, and they become one. But if it makes more sense to TIG weld, I would do that. So I have an electric welder in the shop and use the electric welder. So this here is just a fabrication job for the gazebo. And
very handy.
This here is and again, I'll just keep going on that theme, as having a foot on both sides of the fence. There's a hand forged element with the handles and the hinges, but then cutting that out with the plasma cutter, the disc, and that's a well cover, a decorative well cover. Yeah.
Interesting.
This here is a fireplace in a home in Lanark County, and they wanted to decorate it with vines and leaves. And so
beautiful.
Again, it really, it's when it's hard to go to a store and tell them this is what I want and then get that, eh? So it's whenever, you can't really satisfy it at a,
you can't go out and buy it.
You can't go out and buy it. So here's a picture of a railing. It was small there for some reason.
Yeah.
There'll be more railings later on. And here again, custom work. So these are not pokers, but fire cookers for hot dogs and marshmallows.
How useful.
So there's 6 folks in the family, and they each wanted a unique poker that was their own. So another example of just, this is a coat rack. So
that's nice.
all of the leaves and the tendrils and all of that is hand forged, of course, but then it's fitted together using the TIG welder, because you can TIG that together quite quickly. So it's efficient, cost effective, and it's railroad spikes is what's holding the coats up. So those are railroad spikes cut at 2 inches long and then attached.
Mm-mm.
So here's a railing. So to keep things keep things affordable, a lot of times with railings, you're going to have sections of them that all you've done is fabricate square, half-inch square bar, cut it to length and TIG weld it all together. But then the inside of this railing is hand forged. That was half-inch square bar hammered out to look.
This part here.
Yeah. Part there to look, to give hand forge that into more of a.
And then the railing at
decorative
the top.
part.
Yeah. And then there's a railing that goes to the basement there. I was going to take this picture out because I forgot what the lamps were called. Remember, Ankaret, I asked you,
Oh,
someone in the audience. So when we do question and answer period later on, the question for you folks will be, what are these stir sticks for? What type of lamp were these stir sticks used for? So I made up those stir sticks. So the customer brought me pictures. So I just replicated what they wanted with pictures, and they had the lamps already. This isn't it. So this is stainless steel here. And I included this just to mention, you don't know where things will lead, and this is all of at the Pancake, at the sugar camp here, the 1-inch stainless steel piping that moves all of our washing water everywhere. I did that with my Uncle Vernon, and I did that together. I did the welding and he did all the measurements and installation. But it's just an example, like when you start out, you don't know where it will lead.
Yeah.
So very handy to have where it's come to be able to, when there's a part out there broken or needed, or you're changing something around, to be able to just go to the shop, switch the welder over.
Practical, yes.
Yeah, very practical.
Yes.
Here is a handrail down to a lake, 55-foot long handrail.
Wow.
So here's one of the jobs that Tony Walsh helped with. So I don't have a power hammer. I hammer and anvil but sometimes with Tony's power hammer, it can make short work of a job.
you need to mute them.
And so the next,
Oh,
well, yeah,
to go
just
back
go
to
back
the
there.
picture.
So there's another shot going down to the lake. So the customer wanted decorative posts with vines and leaves wrapping around the posts. And that's 55 feet. They call it 1.66 inch tubular. And so I went over to Tony Walsh's in Watson's Corners, and we used his power hammer to hammer out the handrail.
Right.
Yeah.
55 feet.
55 feet of it. So we
lot.
cut it. We had 8 pieces. I think we put it in 8 pieces or something.
Wow.
But this
Okay.
must be the clinker.
This
Yeah.
is where you're taking the clinkers out.
So
Yeah.
here's the
Oh, we
fire.
gotta turn the sound off on this because he doesn't want us hearing. There.
Thank you, Carrie. Yeah, I don't know if do they even hear
They
the
probably
sound.
can't hear it anyway.
So here's a video of showing you fishing out clinker out of the fire, out of the
this is
forge.
stuff that's left over afterwards.
Yeah,
And what do you do with the clinker?
I throw it out. But again, an artist, a real artist, would take that clinker and
Make something up.
so if any of you artists out there want clinker, I can set it aside and
I would say that you are a real artist. Anybody who can make this,
yeah.
and
So
all these beautiful things in the pictures.
so that's clinker coming out of so that's a byproduct that makes your fire cold and useless, and no good. So every so often, and coal has different degrees of quality. Some coal's gonna produce more clinker than others, but
So does it all stick together?
it does if you do it at the right time.
Ah.
So if you mess around in your fire, it's all going to break up, and now you're trying to get itty bitty pieces of like shards of glass out of your forge,
Ah,
and that
yes.
takes much longer. But if you let the fire get to the right temperature, it kind of clumps
All
together,
joins together.
and you're bringing it out in one nice,
Red
piece.
hot lump.
So here's a table. Of course, I didn't do any of the wood. I did this wood though, or I'm pointing at it, but the
Yeah, we
4x4.
point at
Yeah.
it with this.
Oh.
That
Yeah.
piece you did,
Yeah,
but
so
not-
that's black
yeah.
cherry. Customer provided the black cherry, and then
That's
the
attractive.
tabletop was done by the customer too, but I just did but again, see, that's fabrication, right? There's no forging there, but it's just an example of, so here's a railing.
That's beautiful, isn't it?
And you're combining TIG welding and forging. So all of those scrolls, I forget how many hundreds of scrolls. This is just part of the railing, not the whole thing, but were done all by hand. Did make up a jig for that though, and then you're getting consistency. So a job like
What's a
this,
jig?
a jig, so that each one is replicated the same. So what I did was took some measurements and found what was going to be the appropriate size for a scroll. And
Yeah.
once I figured that out, this is, this was a lesson from Tony Walsh way back in 2000s, but you then you forge out your jig out of heavier stock, thicker steel, forge it out, weld it, say, on a plate, and then now you have a pattern.
And each one
I guess
matches.
pattern would be one way to say jig. So instead of a jig, it's a pattern.
It's not like squid jigging or
No.
yeah.
No, I don't know. Did a Fisher person in the series?
They match.
Yeah, they match up.
Yeah.
So this here, yeah, there you go.
That's huge.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah. And then this is door pulls for kitchen. That's butternut kitchen cupboards. And so that's an example of, again, now see, this is something you can go to the store for, right? You can get door pulls probably for 50 cents.
Right.
Maybe $2.
They wanted really
Not at
nice
Lee
ones.
Valley, but
Yeah.
so anyway, but Lee Valley has excellent selection of door pulls for kitchens. Really nice stuff. But that's where specific needs. Yeah, that's right. And then a firewood holder.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So again, you can go to Home Hardware. They have many fire log holders, but the customers wanted something unique. And so that's where you can help out. And a kitchen knife holder.
Yeah.
So
Full of ideas.
yeah. So look at that kitchen though, eh? We should stay on this picture for a while because look at the dishes. Look at the fridge.
It's
Look
an
at the
old
cupboard.
fridge.
Isn't that a unique
Yeah.
kitchen?
Yeah, and look at those knives too. They're quite
Very unique
handles.
knives. So I just did the holder for them,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
Another sign hanger.
Nice.
Yes.
Food less traveled. This was down on Highway 38, is it? Roger McMunn, had the job and had to go. Yeah, we haven't talked about that yet. And I don't know if I would want to. So everyone just forget
We'll
you hear
forget you
this.
ever said
Forget I said this, but I do sometimes have to leave the shop and go. There's a lot of days I'm not in the shop because I'm taking measurements for a job. I'm installing a job.
Yes.
Or you're
Prospecting.
exactly. So this job, just the way it was, I had to pack up the truck. You put the welder in, the generator in, and all your tools, and you hope you don't forget your welding helmet. One thing, you forget one thing, and it's like you can't do the job. So there are. That's the other thing too. You kind of have, for me, what's worked out is I've been willing to leave the farm and go and install work elsewhere. And so install days I find are always a stressful day. You're trusting that the measurements and your measurements are going to work out. But
You haven't made a mistake.
math and me are like oil and water, so I can but you hope that it works out well. So yeah, that's one thing that's worked out is having the ability to pack up the shop, go somewhere and weld, and do it there. So there's some, I told people not to listen for that. That's not something that you don't enjoy. I don't enjoy that aspect as much. So when we get into what I call my knickknacks that are sold here at the Pancake House or whatever, the neat thing about these knickknacks is you never have to leave the farm, right?
Mhm.
You stay at the shop, you do your thing, you set it on the table, people come,
buy it.
they buy it, they leave.
It's amazing.
And so that's good. But because I have been willing to, again, this here, there was a lot of off-site work. This is at John Fernier's vineyard that he opened up in the last couple of years. River, boy, this is stress. You forget.
Yeah.
So that'll be the second question for the audience. What those stir sticks were used, and John Fernier's vineyard is called River
Something.
Yeah.
River Bend.
Well, I'm not going to say you're wrong until. So this one here, it is at a vineyard, so it's difficult with the picture to see, but there's hand forged grape clusters and leaves and vines
Nice.
on these railings. So to meet code, that's another thing that you come up against. You have to meet code, right? So not every job can just be decorative
That's right. You
and
have to conform.
creative.
Yeah.
You have to have it so that it's this high, off the
Right.
ground. The
Right.
spindles have to be within a certain distance, and then so you do run into that. You got to make sure you understand building code
Yeah, building
to
is important.
some degree. And I mean, at the end of all of that building code, it says like, but it's up to the inspector's, discretion. So I don't know.
Often it's too big. and
Yeah.
They would mind.
That's right. Hopefully, but yeah. Here's the paper towel holders. Okay, so the reason why I would have included this is a lot of times over the years, I never did a knick-knack, or I didn't have that idea until a customer gave me the idea.
Yes.
And so they're saying, could you make me a paper towel holder? And I want it to look like this, and you're like, great, no problem. So you do one, but when you do one for them, you're like, it'd be handy is if I do 5 or 6 more.
Yeah.
And so that's been handy over the years.
Brand new idea.
We can get into that too with the knickknacks of like just listening to the customers, because we'll get into it more, but
We will.
yeah. So those are paper towel holders, but
That's fun.
and this is a branding iron stamp. So these folks that they got married in 2022 on October 10th, and their initials M and S. So of course it's backwards.
Yes.
And then they wanted the pine tree below the lettering is the silhouette of a pine forest. So you heat that up either in your fire pit or your blowtorch, and you get it hot enough, and then you can brand. They branded a handmade wooden chest that he made, and so
Oh, really?
keeping.
So they put
Yeah.
that on the wooden chest.
They did. They branded it.
And branded it.
Okay. Now, of course, they could use the brand for anything else. They have it. So,
See.
but the
They press
initial,
it on something else.
yeah,
It's supposed to be backwards.
That's
It's
right.
not, you're not hanging it up. It's
No.
not decorative.
no,
It is decorative when you brand the thing though.
yeah.
Okay,
Clever.
That's the only thing about the branding irons is that they don't make any sense when they're just there on the wall or something or being hung. But yeah,
Mirror.
yeah. You know what? Should include a mirror with each sale of a branding iron.
Have a mirror, then you look at the
The
side.
mirror. I just did one for my niece that got married this year, their initials and that. And I tried to do it in such a way, I put a real decorative handle on it so that when it's not being used, because I mean, you might go 10 years,
Mhm.
not use it. So that there's a decorative handle on it. And then when it's sitting, you see the way it's supposed to.
Oh,
I
yeah.
tried not to
Oh, that's
impede,
clever,
tried
yes.
not to impede, whereas this one you impede the way that one's,
Right.
so yeah, you learn as you go. You feel a little sorry for the customers. You're early on. But that is something cool about blacksmithing, is that
You
you would
get
never
ideas.
finish learning, so that's fun to know that at no point would you like, oh, I've learned it.
Yeah.
It's moved on. So,
Yeah.
So,
And I'm sure people see it.
yeah.
Where'd you get that?
So you're constantly
Constantly
trying to,
find you.
so there's the sign that Roger McMunn made me. That's Western red cedar,
Mm,
and it's hand carved and gold leaf lettered.
nice.
Yeah.
And that's on the
T-
blacksmith.
Yeah, it
shop
is right,
here.
just a couple hundred
Right on
feet
the
that way.
property.
Yeah,
Right.
and yeah, T.R. McMunn would be, and Sons is the name, but yeah, Roger McMunn is the fella. There, I didn't get these pictures organized. We saw this earlier. That was part of the fireplace that had the vines and the leaves around the fireplace. But I just think that's the cutest door.
Yeah, that's a door.
It's a door.
Oh.
See, there's a nail. Oh yeah, I guess I can. This nail, it's a horseshoe nail bent over to be the door handle. Then your door pull is another horseshoe nail. Then you've got your itty bitty, leaves, and then the horseshoe. I used horseshoe.
Mhm.
All those stuff I make out of horseshoes are ones that are donated by farriers.
Old used ones.
Used ones. Oh yeah, there's another picture of. Yeah. Okay, there you go. And so the
endless possibilities.
Right.
Yeah, endless.
What's
endless.
this stuff?
So this, I wish I remembered the name of the country that this piece of wood came from. This piece of wood here. Okay, the third question for the audience is, where would a stick of wood like this come from? And it's not in North America, I'll tell you, but here are upright handrail posts. So the customer was traveling at some point and brought home a bunch of these pieces of wood. They were each maybe 6 feet long. And up their walkway, they wanted a handrail and they wanted to use the wood because each piece of wood they got was unique. So each one looked kind of funky like that,
Yeah.
but different. So they wanted the posts to resemble wood. So what you have here is, I think it started out with 2-inch round tubular from Kawartha Metals in Peterborough. They deliver steel in full length. So tubular, you know,
Yeah.
could be either 20 or 24-foot long lengths of steel. And then forged out the branches. And even it's difficult with these pictures. A close-up would have been neat, but the ends of these branches are spiraled just to look like growth rings. So there's growth rings on the ends. And then I have a
And then you have the V at the top and you're
to
going to
set
lay
in,
that,
yeah.
that piece of wood across the top once you've got them pounded into the ground. Is that
Yeah,
it?
yeah. These ones, the customer installed this job.
Yeah.
I actually never even was at their house. So everything was done. They brought everything to
They
me.
brought it here.
But it got bolted to their cement. Yeah.
All right.
So here's a close up. Yeah, you can see how organization's not my thing. So this is at the vineyard. So that's just a reminder. Someone can Google John Fernier's vineyard.
This is the close-up.
So we
you
can
were
get
talking
that
about.
information.
Okay.
Here's a close up. This was up the accessibility ramp at the same place. So you got your hand forged. These are hand forged grape clusters and
Okay.
leaves. Yeah,
Wonderful.
they're up
It's in context.
that's in context. Yeah.
Oh,
This is the restaurant that used to be in Sherbet Lake that was the Maples
Yes.
in Sherbet Lake
Mhm.
along the lake. So it's now Belong because Brad Long is the chef and owner.
oh, wow.
So the
Yeah.
restaurant is called Belong Sherbet Lake.
Mhm.
And so that's a railing at his place. So it needed something to work and then something a bit decorative too. So it had to, this is behind the restaurant on the lakeside. And yeah, no, I'm not sure why I include this picture really, but again, it's just another example of like, it's more fabricating than blacksmithing.
Right.
And then,
Yeah.
so this is in a log house. Again, that can be a common theme where a lot of log houses like to get a steel railing.
Mhm.
And so a lot of my interior railings have gone into log homes, many of them. And there's not really too many close-ups on this, but you try to find as many elements that you can. So the spindles, it's hard to see in the picture, but every third spindle there's a forged twist to it, and it's custom caps on it. And yeah. So
Beautiful.
and we my cousins and I, like a couple of Vernon's daughters and I, we chink log homes. We use permachink.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so that these side hustles have been helpful because as you're gaining customers with the blacksmithing world and to keep yourself busy, like I haven't trucked since 2013, but the trucking and the chinking log homes,
It keeps
those
you on your feet.
the maple syrup,
Yes.
yeah, keeps you busy
On the go.
when as you're learning the
Building your business.
building, yeah.
Yeah.
And so this home, we chinked this home, and then they asked us to do the railings too. So
Nice.
Well, they fit, don't they?
I like it.
Yeah,
I
they
like
really
I like
fit.
steel and wood.
I do.
This is at John Fernier's vineyard. People are going to get a lot of reminders to look that up. So he ordered, there's something like 200 and some, there's almost 300 of these little square decorative
Oh,
pieces.
yes.
I think there's 200 and some. This is again at the vineyard, the footrest and the bar face. So did the bar face and the footrest, and then up in the ceiling there's some angle iron. Tony Walsh helped me with the angle iron up in the ceiling. We used they had to be 20 feet long. My shop is small, so having I have a forge side and then I have a welding side, and because railings need to have a post, like code requires a post, every 6 feet or so, you're able to do panels, and then you can just piece it all together on the site. So, but sometimes you can get jobs that require more space than that. Like these were 20, they had to be 20
Wow.
feet long. So Tony helped me with that. another vineyard. Well, I shouldn't do that's everyone tells me I
It's
flip through
very
pictures too
beautiful.
fast.
Yeah.
Another vineyard one. Certainly include a lot of vineyard ones there. There's, if I remember correctly, there's 8,000 vines in that field.
Heavens.
This field here,
Is that by the river?
there is a river.
Yeah.
The river is behind, you got to go off screen this way. And it's right on the river. And I think there's 8,000 vines.
My goodness.
Yeah. It's beautiful. And weddings and dinners and stuff. So yeah, you never know what the next job's going to be. This is my first job, and just did this one fairly recently, but it's in Quebec. And in Quebec, their septic tanks have to be inspected. So this is what the customer told me, so I haven't verified it, but in Quebec, your septic has to be inspected once a year. In Ontario, it's whenever you sell your house, so it could be 50 years between inspections. So he didn't like the look of his lids of the septic tank, and he wanted decorative pieces to go over. So there was 3 pieces, and they go over top of the septic lid. Well, 2 of them, there's 2 septic lids, so there was 2 pieces done over the lids and a 3rd piece to balance it out. And then candles
The candles.
go in these holders.
Oh, so it becomes a sort of,
There's
evening
there's
decoration.
32 there's 32 of these candles with the whole job, 32 of them. So
Nice.
it's a lot of,
It looks nice at night. Wow.
so here's one of the pieces.
Oh, it's on top of the septic tank
Yeah.
cover.
I should have clicked, I guess, to explain that first, but so there's 3 discs. 2 of them go over a septic lid, and then the 3rd disc is just to balance it out,
All right.
and
There is a really
idea. Imagine
you have
coming
to,
up with
yes,
that idea.
where the septic tank.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
oh, is that the end of the, there you go.
All right, so
So
we're
we
gonna,
should show everybody these lovely
yeah,
things.
we're gonna
huh?
stop sharing the screen,
Mhm.
and then
You've got-
Tim's gonna show you some beautiful things that he made, that he sells here at the Pancake House.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite sections. Show them.
Call these my knickknacks. So, and being at a sugar bush, it's nice to have as many of them maple themed as possible. So here's a trivet, and I do a large and a small trivet, but there's a story of how things progress. So years ago, it was my turn. One of my sister-in-laws, it was my turn. You know how you Christmas exchange names.
Right.
So my sister-in-law, I drew her name. Need a Christmas present. Of course, you can go buy one, but thought, well, maybe I should make her one. So just because that year, it's like have to make her Christmas, not have to, I get to, I'm permitted to. Sorry, Mom. So I get to make and you're talking with your family, and the family here are so much smarter than I am, and they're able to
Right.
help so much with designs and stuff. So of course, come up, well, why don't you make her a trivet? So it was a larger version, which is over on the table there. So having done that, and it went off so well, it's just amazing how many have sold since then.
Because that's a really,
I was interested in the color.
Yeah.
I thought the color was so beautiful.
So yeah, this here, maybe I should have grabbed one I like better, but you call it like running the colors. And so you start, the steel is clean and it's white, and then you add heat to it. And as you add heat to it, the colors run. Like this one might show up a little better. And you get into the golds and the blues and the purples. So this is a dragonfly.
That's
And-
lovely, isn't it? Lovely.
This here's
I like a little bit.
a maple leaf hook. So here's another story that I included this one just to say, customers are so helpful. Like, because one day customer was here looking at my knickknacks, probably a heart hook like this, actually she was looking at a leaf hook, which I don't have in front of me. And so she picks up a leaf hook and she says, I'd buy this hook if it was a maple leaf, because it's like an elm leaf, And I said, oh yeah. So I appreciate the feedback, but I'm like, there's no way I'm going to get a maple leaf on a hook to be cost effective. Maybe for $100 we can do it, but who's going to buy a hook for $100?
Exactly.
But anyway, gave it some thought. And because of that conversation with the lady, it came up with something that does quite well. So it had an idea, and I'm like, oh, I think I can do it that way. So, and then another thing that does well, maple themed again, is the Christmas tree ornaments. The neat thing about these guys is they travel so well And so everyone going on airplanes, going back to their country and that,
And you
the
get a
Christmas
lot
tree.
of visitors here
Yeah.
who are on tours,
yeah,
right?
the tour buses come and folks on their own steam as well. So there's a map that probably should get replaced in the sugar camp there because the number of pins in it, you can't even see
Put
what,
another one.
can't see what Hong
Map of the
where Hong
world.
Kong was.
Where people have
Yeah.
come from.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's neat to have something that fits in a suitcase, can go on an airplane.
Right.
Um,
That people can
they're
take back
really
as a
fun.
gift.
Well, Tim, you've certainly given us a wonderful glimpse of your life. I think it's fascinating because you don't really think of all these ideas that we can ask to make. Give
No,
me all sorts of ideas.
no, it's all worked out quite well. And I mean, it was just from ever since I was a young boy, like 7 years old, I was telling you guys this the
Yeah.
other day that I wanted to be, I said, if I lived 100 years ago, I would have liked to have been a blacksmith. But, like growing up in the 90s, it wasn't at the time, it wasn't really coming
Wasn't the
back
thing
much.
to do,
It wasn't the
yeah.
thing to do. And you didn't even know it existed. So then it's just interesting how it all worked out.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's
really well.
amazing. I think it's wonderful. So you've got a lifestyle that you love, making things. And of course, you're always learning new things.
Yeah, always.
Well, I'm very grateful to you. Thank you very much for coming. You're very kind.
Thank you for
And
asking.
we would love to know now if we've got some questions.
Some questions.
Have we
So
got any questions?
you
in
can
the chat
unmute.
box? Anybody got any answers?
Well, they have 3 answers that we want. We
There's
want to know
3
what the stir sticks were for.
What was the stir stick?
Okay.
John
what does it
Fernie's
say
video.
here?
Let's see if anybody knows what stir stick.
What was our third question?
What sort of wood it was for the post?
Yes, that's the third question.
That was the
Yeah.
other post, yes.
Yeah, so those are
The-
the 3
the-
questions.
River
type-
House.
So before
It's
we answer,
River House.
someone got,
It's the name
there's
of the
the,
vineyard.
thank you.
That
River
Tom
House Vineyard.
Shoebridge said,
Oh, thank you,
yeah.
Tom
Yeah.
and Gloria. So River House Vineyard is the,
And Helen too.
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah,
both
so
of
it's
them.
not far from here. It's
not
less than
the road
30
to
minutes.
Whistle.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, less than 30 minutes from
Yeah, it's
McDonald's
very
Corners.
close.
Now, if anybody else has a question, I'm gonna change the view so that we have a gallery view. There we go. If there's anyone else, you can just unmute yourself and ask your question because it's, or you can put your hand up if you want to. Yeah. There's somebody who wants to ask a question
Or answer a question.
or answer one of the questions that Tim
Mm.
asked. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm seeing a whole bunch of people here. It's terrific. Yeah, we've had the screen on the big size, so we weren't able to see how many people had come in. That's just marvelous. I see Fred here. He's going to be speaking next time. Fred Fowler.
Oh, Fred. Oh, boy. So,
Yeah.
Hello,
Fred,
everybody.
here, I'm going to make you a big, if I can do this. There. Can you say hello to everybody? Fred's going to be speaking.
Yeah, hi, everybody.
From his heart.
yeah, you can get it.
Yeah. I'd just like to mention to Tim, I'd like to mention to Tim that I was at the River House Vineyard and we just dropped in there, my wife and I noticed the railings and everything, and it's kind of nice to see who actually did it. It was very, very nice.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you.
That's great. Okay, I'm gonna unpin Fred now.
Tim.
All right. Any other questions?
Nobody can answer the questions.
Well, you
Yeah.
had, a couple of other questions that you
Yeah,
asked. people.
the stir sticks, those
those
lamps, they used, the lamps would put fat in the lamp and the fat would congeal and harden. So you heat it up and to help it, to speed up the process to get the fat into a liquid, they were using these stir sticks.
Okay.
And
And-
boy, it'd be interesting if the customer sees this someday and is like, how can you forget that? It's like,
Have the recording on. Oh, yes, I wanted to turn the recording off before the question.